To be the non-congressional nominee for the Democratic Party, and the fact that we kept Robert Pittenger under 200,000 votes as an incumbent and made him spend over $1 million, and he spent what was it, Anthony?
He spent $5 a vote. We spent 43 cents.
He spent $37 cents a vote. When I was campaigning, I always had to follow Alma Adams. And if anyone knows Alma Adams, she's a hard person to follow. So I told her, I said, Alma, it's hard to come to these events every time I follow you. She said, take off your jacket and look like Obama. So I said, okay. So this is my first chance of doing that. Once again, thank you for coming out. And once again, we have made a decision to run again. I do believe that we have many congressional districts here in North Carolina that we have a very, very good chance in 2018 of surprising and showing the true North Carolinians in a progressive state, and we just got to get our neighbors out to vote. But Scott wanted me to talk very briefly, and I'm going to make it very brief because I don't have the oral skills or whatever that term is called of Alma Adams or Barack Obama or some of even Matt Newton, who I think is, I hope he runs. I talk about immigration. That's been a very, very important topic over the last couple of weeks. So I've been very involved in the immigration movement, and that's actually the reason that I made the decision to run for office. I spent 20 years managing hotels around the country and opening hotels. So I was very familiar with our undocumented American population because, quite honestly, in the hospitality business, we contract out to many of them are undocumented. They keep our industry running. As a matter of fact, 40% of our 11 million undocumented Americans work in our agriculture industry. They also work in our construction industry. If anyone's looking around Charlotte, we're going through a second boom, it looks like. Everywhere you turn around, they're building new condos or so forth. And also in the hospitality business. So the immigration issue is very important economically to America, but also to North Carolina and to Charlotte. It's very, very important.
Speak up a little louder.
I'm sorry. That better?
Yes.
All right. The Cano Institute predicts that if we continue the path of what Donald Trump is doing, that it's going to impact our economy to the amount of $250 billion a year. That's a lot of money. So obviously, what does that mean? So we've got to do a better job, as I happen to be a Democrat, as neighbors, to educate our neighbors, whether they're a Trump supporter, whether they're unaffiliated, whether they're Democrat. We've got to educate them on the non-emotional side of the immigration issue. Economically, what that is going to do to our Charlotte school system. Our taxes are going to go up. We're not going to be able to build the buildings that we need to build here in North Carolina. So, quite honestly, what's going to happen is those who voted for Trump, and I've had many conversations with them because I live in South Charlotte, as does Peter Norris, and we live around a lot of Trump supporters, and they're now starting to go, oh my gosh.
Buyer's remorse.
Yes, buyer's remorse. But what we've got to do is we've got to bring them into our conversation without shaming them. Because what's going to happen is their backs are going to be up against the wall in 2 years, and they're not going to admit that maybe they made a little mistake. So we've got to educate them, and we've got to tell them, listen, what we're talking about is the same thing. We want to bring undocumented workers out from under the shadows. We want to identify who they are to secure our nation. We want to give them IDs. We want to give them the ability to have driver's licenses. Why? So they can buy car insurance. You don't want to wreck into someone and jump out and they run away and impacts our insurance. So it benefits us, the North Carolinians, to actually bring them out of the shadows and identify who they are. So this policy that Donald Trump is on a warpath doing, I'm sure many of us who are what we call junkies, political junkies, understand why he's doing this. He's doing it because during his campaign, he promised his voters or constituents or people who were supporting him that he would deport 2 to 3 million undocumented Americans within the first year. Of course, we all said, that's great. There's no way you can do it. We can't afford it, so forth. Well, there's no way he can meet that number. But he's going to try to do his best to kind of, let his supporters know that he's trying his best so that way they won't hold Congress accountable in 2 years. And I truly believe, and the reason that many of the congressional members are not holding town hall meetings, especially Robert Pittenger, is not necessarily, and I do believe it's because they understand there's a lot of angry people out there, but they also don't want to have to explain why they have done nothing at all in 100 days. I don't know if you remember, but Paul Ryan stood in front of the cameras and said, in 100 days, we're going to accomplish infrastructure, immigration reform, so forth, deregulation, replace Obamacare, this. Well, he very quietly, about, I think it was 20 days ago, it's now a 200-day plan. And I guarantee you it will turn into a year plan. So that is the reason that I believe that all this focus is being put on immigration by Donald Trump, is to help Congress take the focus off what they're actually not doing. Now, I'm going to tell you a personal story because we are talking about immigration. The reason I decided to run for office was because I went on a trip to Washington, D.C. with some undocumented Americans, very brave undocumented Americans who wanted to talk to Senator Burr and Senator Tillis. I was in the van with them. We drove back, and I saw a family. I was with a family. And the mother stays at home. She cooks. She sells her food. She sells tamales. If anybody likes tamales, I can get you a hookup. Her daughter is disabled, was born disabled when she came here, so she's been in a wheelchair for several years. Her 2 sons are in school, and her husband works in construction. And I went on a trip with them, and bear with me if I get emotional, because this is the reason I decided to run for office. I sat there, and my entire life I've been telling people, my family's been here since 1862 in North Carolina. My family in Texas has been in Texas since Texas was Texas. So you can't get any more American than I am, and I'm using a little twang there. And then I remembered my grandfather on my dad's side came over here from Chihuahua, Mexico, on a donkey. And he became a nationalized citizen when he was here. And like many people who wanted to fit in America, I kind of tried to forget that part of me. And I saw them in the van, and at least 12 or 13 times during the trip, the mother would lift the daughter up out of the wheelchair to go to the bathroom, lift her up, back and forth, back and forth. And I looked at them and I said, I'm so ashamed. I'm ashamed that I'm not fighting for our undocumented Americans. And 6 months later, I decided to run for office. And that's why this is a very important issue. So, I'm going to bring it down because he told me to pump everybody up. So what I'd like to do, and I took this personal privilege during a press conference last week when we had an incredible Day Without Immigrant walk on Thursday. I'm not sure if you guys realize the huge national news of 8,000 people that attended. Over 250 small businesses closed down to show the power of the immigrant community here in Charlotte and around the country. And one of the things that I did during the press conference before then is I wanted to take a personal privilege. And the reason I'm doing this is because I carry in my pocket the Constitution and a picture of all 4 of my grandparents who are no longer with me. And I carry the American flag, and I carry a copy of the Constitution. I do that because of them. That's why I was able to run for Congress. So, out of respect for them, and out of respect for all of our undocumented Americans who tonight are afraid to come out because they're afraid they're going to be pulled over by ICE, they're afraid to go to the grocery store, they're afraid to do those things, I would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, because there's a part of the Pledge of Allegiance that I think that talks about Indivisible. And if you don't mind, I would like to take personal privilege of doing the Pledge of Allegiance.
We're all patriots. I know there's a flag.
Well, actually,
Your pocket